Good morning, everybody. What's up? My name is Steven Hyder. This is Gate City Sports Media Company. Happy Monday, January 17th, 2022 to everybody. Probably not as happy for some of us right now because we got bounced from the playoffs. So let's talk about it, guys. I mean, we're now into this aspect of where you have to analyze the roster. We have to actually go through, grade, figure out where you're at and how you improve from that standpoint going forward. And I think that's going to be a challenge for the Eagles because what I learned from this game in particular is there is a major hurdle from where our roster talent is to this upper third of the league. There's a long way to go in terms of that. And look, I'm not really mad that we lost that football game, guys. I'm just going to be upfront and honest with you. Like that's not the part that bothers me. Tampa Bay is, defending Super Bowl champs. They got a Hall of Famer under center at quarterback. I mean, come on, man. You got to be realistic here. I am mad because I felt like we could have been more competitive than what we were. And I'm not exactly too happy with the way that things shook out in terms of the competitiveness of the team. Not that I felt anyone stopped fighting. I just felt like the game plan was really flawed. I got to be honest. I know that there's many ways of looking at something. It's not as if it's only a singular view of things. But I can say that one of the ways this can be viewed as is that we fell more into an evaluation mode in the playoffs than falling into what the strength of the team is and trying to attack. Now, I get saying that, well, they do have Ndamukong Suh. They do have Vita Vea on the inside. They got really, really fast-flowing linebackers. They might have thought that the matchup was better on the outside to try to attack that way to get down the field and kind of nickel and dime them. I get that. But it still felt like to me like the early season stuff to where we were more so evaluating the quarterback position than we were trying to win football games. That's the way it came across to me. Like I said, guys, I acknowledge the fact that there are many ways of looking at it without hearing Coach Sirianni speak on it, without hearing, everybody kind of come together in terms of like what the heck the task was, the goal they were trying to accomplish. It's a little difficult, to be honest. But nonetheless, that's how this game felt to me from that standpoint. What I will say is, we're going to have a major overhaul. And I said this in a community post. I said this, in a video. I was really dead set on picking 3 defensive players with those 3 first-round picks if we utilize them. And I still think it's a bit of a stretch to think we're going to use all 3 first-round picks. I really don't think that's going to happen, guys, to be honest. But we have them. It could happen. It's clearly in the realm of possibility. What I'm saying now is that I think that the deficiencies of this team are so glaringly obvious and they're so great that I can't just in good faith rule out taking an offensive player in the draft. I can't do it. If there's someone in there, the coaching staff, the scouting department, and these guys identify as being a true playmaker, like a true guy that can reverse our fortunes, you got to take the best player available, offensively or defensively. Simply put, you have to at this point. Do I think that the long-term projection is a lot more cloudy on the defensive side of the ball? You're dang right I do. You're dang right I do. I don't know what we got in terms of the safety play right now. Marcus Epps looks like he could be a potential second or third safety, but outside of that, we got 2 older guys. Corners are a very cloudy situation. Steven Nelson, is he's basically on an expiring contract, so we got to figure out what his value is going to be in the offseason. Darius Slay is 31, and he's going to be the highest paid player on the football team. The defensive line is aging. Brandon Graham is turning 34 in this upcoming season. We have Fletcher Cox, Fletcher Cox is still a good football player. I'm not here to take shots at Fletch. I do think that there were a couple times that Fletch kind of popped on the film yesterday. But it's not the same Fletch, man. It's not the same Fletch from 2 or 3 years ago. He's not that same type of impact player anymore. Kind of disappointed in the role that they played Milton Williams with, but I will say this right out front, guys. Ryan Kerrigan 8 in that game. But I still kind of felt like maybe you should have given Milton Williams a little bit more of an opportunity here and there. But I'll reserve some judgment until I see snap counts because it could be, it could be misleading in the fact that, sometimes you just miss a dude's number on the field. And you got to see the coach's film to kind of really get a feel for how a player is being utilized in the game in terms of the game plan with that player. Linebacker, guys, once TJ Edwards went out, I thought Alex Singleton did the best he could do, and I don't think Alex Singleton had a bad game by any stretch of the imagination. But I think the limitations at linebacker are quite clear, and not having Davion Taylor out there, it kind of hurts this defense a little bit, man. I think this defense was a lot better when Davion was in games. I think Davion did a lot in terms of progressing as a player. You know, he was playing the game at a much faster level in terms of processing the game. Davion's been injured, though, 2 years in a row. You know, it's kind of the same situation with some of these guys that we spent draft picks on. You know, we're not getting a ton of production out of them, right? Go back to 2021, and we spent a 4th-round pick on McPherson. Haven't really got a lot of production to really judge what he is, and that's not his fault. I mean, he's not going to start over Steven Nelson or Darius Slay in his rookie year, but I don't know what he is, guys. I mean, they're, you know, judging his college film, he still had some issues with eye discipline playing zone. So, you know, there's definitely some things that have to be kind of cleaned up there with him. When I go past that, we got a lot of late round guys that we either drafted, or I'm sorry, not drafted, but we traded for. You know, Josiah Scott. I thought Josiah Scott had a really good special teams day. I don't know what he is in terms of the league outside of he's very good in the short, what we call short zone, right? Anything that's 9 yards to the line of scrimmage, reading it, shooting it, going up there and making a play on it. That's kind of his game. I know he likes to play on the outside, but I think that he could potentially be a starter down the road if he just bounced himself inside and played it at the nickel position, because I do think he's got really, really good agility. His side-to-side speed is pretty good. Outside of that, guys, there's a lot of unknowns here. You know, I'm going to be honest with you, man. You know, you look at things and you look at what's going on here. I would say that we have an issue of getting youth here, right? I mean, especially like, look, we got Tay Gowan. Man, Tay Gowan played 1 year of D1 football at UCF, which isn't in the greatest conference. And before that, he was a community college transfer. He opted out of the 2020 season. I like Tay Gowan's measurables. I'm not saying we don't give that young man a look in the offseason and see what you got there, but I'm certainly not depending on that. You got to upgrade there. You got to keep trying to. And then if Tay Gowan beats a dude, then you celebrate, right? Kind of the Quez Watkins situation. You see Quez had a lot more playing experience, but you see the underlying physical measurements and the stature there, but you need to see the progression on the field. You know, Quez was not, and he's still not. Quez is still learning. You know, we've seen issues with him running and completing routes, running through the route progression. Quez is still developing, but Quez is at least, you know, we can see that kind of talent. You know, Tay Gowan to me is a guy that's very risky like that, to where I don't know where he is in terms of an NFL level, you know, body right yet, in terms of what he can see on the field, where his knowledge is of what's going on. I think it's a major thing to try to grade him right now in that. You know, we went after a few guys. You know, we went after the young man that used to play at LSU, who's, you know, he played like nickel, he played outside corner, he's played safety. The Eagles have even used him as a nickel and an outside corner so far this season. So, I mean, we've definitely got guys that we're trying to figure out. You know, Andre Chachere is not that young. Guy that came from Indianapolis, spent a season there. He's been kind of a backup utility role guy. I mean, I'm going to be honest, guys, we need talent across this roster. It's just the facts, man. If anything, we need marquee playmakers on the defensive line. I do think that we lack that right now. You know, Javon Hargrave, he was respectable. I'm not, you know, taking shots at Javon Hargrave. I think Josh Sweat came on at the end of the season, but kind of unfortunate we lost him heading into one of the most important games of the year. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is here, guys. Like, defensively, we got some question marks that's got to be shored up. Offensively, I'm sorry, guys. I just don't have a ton of confidence outside of Dallas Goedert, and then outside of a guy like, you know, Devontae Smith. I think Quez can kind of be a guy that you can depend upon for X amount of snaps. He can make plays. I think he's respectable. I still think we're missing, you know, a big piece offensively, guys. I really do. I would probably much prefer to go get that in free agency, but the thing is, you have to attract players to your organization, and you're going to have to spend up if you want certain guys. You're going to have to spend money. Now, I will say this. We're not just limited to the guys who are free agents. Howie can pull trades. There are ways of accomplishing this without necessarily signing a free agent. You can go through the trade market. You can identify guys. You can go pull them. With that said, man, we need a lot here. We definitely need a lot here. And I don't, you know, I'm not completely satisfied with what I saw even from the offensive line, guys. I'm going to be honest with you. I know we weren't 100% healthy on the offensive line. I get it. I get that Landon Dickerson was dealing with an issue down the stretch. I get that, you know, having, you know, a Peta out there at right guard is not necessarily ideal. You know, that's like our third or fourth right guard. I get it. But I'll say this, man. Ndamukong Suh and Vita Vea, they kind of took it to a line that had been really eating dudes, mauling dudes down there. And there was not a lot of opportunity inside. Now, I'll still stand by what I said earlier, which is I feel like you could have done things, right? You could have done some gap stuff. You could have done some, what I would call crackback blocking, coming in with your tight ends and coming in and crack blocking on those guys with an offensive guard to set up a situation where you have a hole. There are some things you could have done, and I don't think that they were that great there in terms of doing that. But yeah, man, I mean, I'm just gonna be honest, guys. The offense still has some issues here. The offense has some issues here, to be quite honest. I don't think it's complete. I really don't. And it's hard to say, guys. Like, it's really hard to say, but I'm going to be honest, man. Like, it felt like we reverted back to some really bad ways in this game. Now, I'll say this. We were dealing with some stuff with our running backs down the stretch. We were dealing with some stuff on our offensive line down the stretch. It may have just kind of come up hard on us. I still would have given it a shot, guys. I would have given it a shot, man. I would have given it a shot and then just said, look, man, this is what our identity was. We dealt with some injuries down the stretch. We just weren't the same team in that game. But we look forward to being able to do this again next year when everybody's back healthy and we can add some pieces. I would have rather stuck to the script than to have gone off script the way we did, personally. But, I'm disappointed that these guys had time to prepare for our opponent. And, they told us they were already doing event scouting on, the Rams, on Tampa Bay. We knew that they were taking both teams into consideration. They were already doing advanced scouting. I'm disappointed that's the game plan we came up with. I like Nick. I definitely think there's some really reactionary takes out there about Nick, and I think Nick did overall a great job. But I'm concerned about how far this game got away from him. He definitely went off script, in my opinion. That concerns the crap out of me about Nick. I think Nick's got a little bit to redo. He's got some stuff he's got to recapture next year in 2022. Because, some of the old problems with play calling kind of crept their way back in. And I'm not saying that there weren't opportunities that were not missed. They were. Nick drew up some stuff that did get open and it got missed. But here's the thing. This is why I always try to caution people about. You cannot make certain assessments based upon a TV copy of the game. You just can't do it, guys. If you're doing that, you're in the wrong. You don't know the game well enough if that's what you're doing. You have to see. So if you're telling me, and I saw this too, there was a corner route early in the game that came wide open. Should have been thrown. But here's the thing. If I'm assessing this, I can't assess it from a TV copy. I need to see the coach's film. I need to get a sideline angle, and I need to see what the read is from Jalen. I need to make a determination of, is he half-field reading? So if he's half-field reading, why did he go to the other side of the field for that read? Okay, instead of going to this side of the field, which came open. There's certain determinations, guys, I see people making out there, and they just don't know the position well enough to be saying the things they're saying. And I'm not trying to be offensive or rude to anybody. I'm just trying to tell you from a guy who's coached it, played it, scouted it, and has run camps about it. There's intricacies to the game that some people are missing. All right, guys, let's get into some of the comments. What's up, Sam? He said, we need to figure out how to start faster on offense. Being shut out in the first quarter every game, it seems like isn't going to work. I mean, yeah, that was kind of a storyline coming in here, Sam, that we couldn't fall down 14 points, double-digit points. We ended up falling down 17 points, to be honest, to a team like Tampa Bay, or else it was going to be very difficult to dig out of that hole. And the worst of things happened. I will say, though, Sam, that there was an opportunity to get back in this game when the defense basically took a really good offense and put them 3 and out, 4 straight. I think it was like 4 consecutive times. We put them on a 3 and out, and we had an opportunity to get ourselves back in the game. And we just failed to do it. We failed to execute from a special team standpoint. We failed to execute from an offensive standpoint. It was a team loss, guys. The whole team lost this game. It's just facts. Natiro said, yo, what's up, Natiro? How you doing, man? Ted, how you doing, buddy? I'm sorry, guys. Some of you guys, I saw your comments on last night's video. Give me some time, and I'll get to the comments, guys. It was a lot of comments, so it's really hard to kind of keep up with the pace of comments. Ted, I got you. I saw your comments on there. I'll get to your comments on last night's video. Ted said the players weren't prepared correctly. That's on coaches. I don't know that they weren't prepared correctly. I don't necessarily think that's true, Ted. I didn't see a lack of effort. I didn't see a lack of preparation. I saw a highly flawed game plan. Where I think the coaches went wrong is they went off script to what the identity of this team is. And mind you, like I said, Ted, I mean, there are some situational things that we have to discuss in terms of that. And I don't know what the health of Jordan Howard was, to be honest. He was taken off the injury report. I thought that was a good sign, but maybe that stinger, it wasn't right. It's possible, which brings a larger discussion, which is I love Jordan Howard. Man, he's so good in his offense when he's on. But if you can't depend upon his health, you kind of have to find someone that gives you that same exact play, but gives you durability, right? Miles Sanders had the hand issue thing, and they did seem to try to work Miles Sanders in. I thought, outside of a few eye discipline issues that I did see from him to where he bounced it a couple times, which I thought were just unnecessary. But, I just don't think those guys looked okay. I don't think they looked right. I mean, Gainwell was probably our most productive guy, to be honest, from the backfield. Marky Mack said, I went into the game thinking I was just happy to be in the playoffs, but that was awful. Hurts just isn't it. We need more talent at receiver. We need every position on defense. So Marky Mack, I want to challenge that, right? Because look, Marky, the way I look at it, Marky, is I don't know if he is or is not the guy. It's too hard to tell right at this point. But what I will say is that just because he had struggles this season against quality competition doesn't mean he's not the guy. And I'm going to give you guys a very easy comparison to make here to kind of prove my point about two players. One guy became the guy. And it doesn't mean that Jalen will become the guy, but it doesn't mean he's cooked either, guys. You got to understand how the game works and how things grow. Let's take a look at Josh Allen's first 2 seasons, guys. And I'm going to show you the comparisons, right? I mean, Josh Allen has some clear similarities to Jalen Hurts. They're both very, very mobile quarterbacks, but these guys are not like the Lamar Jackson type mobile quarterbacks. Josh Allen has an arm talent that's not there with Jalen. Like Josh Allen's arm talent is definitely above what Jalen will ever be. I mean, Jalen would have to work 10, 12 years at strengthening his arm to even be in that realm of things. And it's not that Jalen doesn't have a good arm. Jalen has adequate arm strength for the NFL. He's in the mid-tier. But Josh Allen's just an exceptional in that part of the game. They both have problems throwing from their base. But the difference was Josh Allen's a really tall guy, like 6'5-ish, 6'6-ish. Who knows exactly his height, but he's a very tall guy with very long legs, very similar to Carson Wentz. He overstrided, meaning that stride got really lengthened as he threw the ball, which really threw off his deep ball at times. Jalen's a little bit of the opposite, but still the same unique problem here in terms of being what I would call a short strider, or what they call heel clicky. Toesy, heel clicky, all that stuff. That means a short strider, right? It means he brings his feet too close together before he gets into that stride. It almost looks like his heels click before he goes into that last stride to throw the football. So both of them they had very flawed bases throwing the ball vertically, and they both did not hesitate to throw the ball vertically, which is kind of funny. And if you stick with me, I'll make some of these points to illustrate what I'm saying here, guys. Josh Allen, 2018, guys. He was ranked 20th. This is his rookie season. He was ranked 21st versus pressure, okay? He had a 50.7 grading, which ranked him 21st. He had 5 interceptions versus pressure, which is not good, guys. When you put pressure on this young man, he turned the ball over a lot early on in his career. He had 12, to make it even more of a difficult thing here, he had 12 turnover-worthy passes versus pressure his rookie season. His average depth of target was 17.6 yards, right? So number 1 in the league. He had the longest average depth of target versus pressure in the league, which led to his time to throw mark versus pressure being 4 seconds and 0.2 of a second, which was the second highest in the NFL, 4.02, if you will. He had the second highest mark in the entire NFL his rookie year. His time to throw over, with all dropbacks and not just pressure, just all dropbacks, like I'm getting into the fact that he was struggling to read the field, guys. He greatly struggled to read the field. All dropbacks mark was 3.20, which was the highest in the NFL, right? He had some work to do. Was not very good in 2018, and I'm not trying to take shots at Buffalo fans, but I saw the receipts, guys. I pay attention to the league from a whole. I know that Buffalo fans were not sold on Josh Allen at first. I saw the comments. I saw what they were saying about the young man. And they weren't even sold him in 2019 when he won 10 games. They said that, honestly, that team was winning in spite of Josh Allen. And to some extent, they were right. Like, Josh Allen, the talent was there. You could see it. But he wasn't realizing it yet. So let's go to 2019, where, Buffalo wins 10 games, still gets bounced from the playoffs. He was 33rd versus pressure. He got worse versus pressure, guys. He had a 34.4 rating in 2019 versus pressure. He wasn't seeing the field, guys. He had thrown 4 interceptions that season, so 9 interceptions over 2 years versus pressure. That's not what you're looking for, all right? 17 turnover-worthy passes. So if you take that number, that's 29 turnover-worthy passes on top of 9 interceptions versus pressure. Josh Allen was clearly struggling to see the field. He had an average depth of target of 14.2 yards. Okay, that's about where Jalen's is. Jalen's is in the high 13s. His time to throw versus pressure mark was 3.78, which was the 6th highest in the league. So he was getting a little faster at least making those decisions versus pressure. But his time to throw versus all dropbacks, he did have some very positive encouragement numbers there. He was at 2.94, which was the fourth highest. He's still very high, but he wasn't the highest in the league anymore. And he certainly worked off like almost 0.3 of a second, which is pretty big. That's a pretty big deal, guys, to be quite honest. Josh Allen was not it early on, guys. And Buffalo fans were ready to move on from this guy. That's what I'm saying. You have to be careful. You have to be careful with such decisions, such rash reactions. All right? I'm not saying Jalen is or isn't the guy. I don't know. He's got a lot to prove. But I'm saying sometimes it clicks for guys, and you have to judge it by where are they coming from? What were they asked to do in college? What are they being asked to do in the pros? And are you seeing progression, right? Because if you looked at Josh Allen going into 2020, you would have been like, yo, man, that guy's not it, man. He's not it. Like, he can't play versus pressure. 2020, Jalen Hurts. Let's take a look at Jalen Hurts' number. Jalen Hurts was 17th versus pressure. He had 50.8 rating. You go back to 2018 stats, Josh Allen's rookie year, he was 50.7 rating versus pressure. Jalen was 50.8 rating versus pressure. Very, very similar numbers here, guys. He had 1 interception versus pressure. I don't think Jalen's struggle was necessarily putting the ball in harm's way. I just think it was bypassing open things, right? So when I say playing on time, especially versus pressure, what I'm talking about is you have design reads, alerts that are meant to beat pressure when someone brings pressure for you. I thought in 2020 in particular, and in the early part of 2021, Jalen was pretty bad at knowing that alert and then basically replacing the defender who's blitzing you with the football. That's the way you beat it. And I think that while he didn't turn the ball over, he struggled in that regard. He had 5 turnover-worthy passes that season. So 1 interception, 5 turnover-worthy passes, 6 plays in total where it's like, okay, like you got to be better with the football here versus pressure. His average depth of target was 13 yards, which ranked number 4, tied with Josh Allen, ironically, in 2020. His time to throw versus pressure was 3.94, which was the 3rd highest mark in the league. He would make his decisions relatively quickly, but still, there's an element of processing it and getting it out faster, right? A lot of that was him just leaving the pocket and throwing it away. Time to throw, all dropbacks. And I think this speaks more so to where he was in terms of not seeing the field yet. 3.39, which ranked the highest in the league. Okay. That's normally, like, don't get me wrong. Your scheme can dictate how long a play progression is, right? If you put Tom Brady inside of Brian Dable's system, which is running Buffalo, right? Or in Doug Peterson's system that was running Philadelphia, or I would even argue to some extent Nick Sirianni's system, he's not going to be up there with Ben Roethlisberger, right? What they do in Pittsburgh in that system has a lot to do with why those guys are ranking in terms of the time to throw. But there shouldn't be the disparity you see when you're getting like a 3.2 or 3.39. Like, that means you're processing slowly. You're 3 to 4 tenths of a second off on your processing. And I know some of you guys are like, man, you're talking tenths of a second. Yes, man, that's tenths of a second matter in the NFL, guys. They matter. 2021, he was number 5 versus pressure, guys. He was the 5th rated quarterback versus pressure. He had a 63.4 grading. He threw 2 interceptions versus pressure. So over the first 2 years, 3 interceptions. He had 7 turnover-worthy passes. You add that into the 5, he's got 12 turnover-worthy passes in the past 2 years versus pressure. His average depth of target versus pressure was 13.7, which is, it was 3rd in the league. He does go for the mid-intermediate level route development stuff versus pressure. Not necessarily trying to hit too many times on that 20-25 yard mark, but that 10 yard to 19 yard area, Jalen likes to work that area versus pressure. His time to throw versus pressure was 4.04. He actually kind of backslid. And I think that has to do with Jalen trying to understand and see coverage more. And I think it caused him to backslide a whole 1/10 of a second. He went from 3.94 to 4.04. That's a full 1/10 of a second. And I think that has to do with him, like I said, trying to. He was last in the NFL. But, just to put this out there, Josh Allen, even in 2021, still had the 10th highest mark in terms of his time to throw versus pressure. His time to throw on all dropbacks was 3.21 seconds. So, we see improvement coming down from 3.39 to 3.21, but it's still the highest in the league. He's still slow. He's still slow to process and see things. He's got to get better at doing that. And I do think that there have been steps and there have been encouraging signs from Jalen when it comes to reading defenses. I do think that he's getting better at doing that. But I also think that early in the season in particular, he left the pocket when it was unnecessary, when if he would have just slid, glided, and then slid the pocket, he probably could have stayed within the realm of the pocket and made a play down the field. I think it's complex, guys. And I'm not saying he's the guy and he's not the guy. I don't know. I don't know. I think that some things should be determined by a guy's playing on the field, and you should give him an opportunity. I'm saying, just like I defended Jonathan Gannon to say it ain't good enough currently in its current state. I'm not happy with it. It's too passive. I don't like what's going on here. And you can't call it bend but don't break if you're breaking. And good teams are putting points up on the board on you. And the slow starts in the first quarter where teams are scoring on us and putting the offense behind the chains and causing a lot of chaos. I think it's true of Jalen too, right? To where, it's the same kind of thing. Like, I've watched guys get run out of this town that it was premature to do what we did. Sean McDermott, the guy coaching Josh Allen in Buffalo, was run out of this town. Let's call a spade a spade. We ran him out of this town. Turned out to be one heck of a coach, guys. We were wrong. We should have chilled out and been patient, given that young man time to develop and become into the play caller he was going to become. Now, you can make the argument. It's not like he'd be here now, Gate, because he was going to eventually get a head coaching job. He was that level of candidate guy. True. That's true. I'm not saying Jalen Hurts is Josh Allen by any stretch of the imagination, guys. I'm saying I don't know what Jalen Hurts is yet, other than he's got some things to clean up. His deep ball is ugly. He's got to clean that up. It's ugly. He's definitely heel clicky. He brings it together and it throws off the timing of that pass. He's definitely got an elongated delivery. He's late. That elongated delivery causes him to be late. It causes him to be late. My bad, guys. With the actual release of the football, which it can cause the ball to hang. He's got some issues. There's no doubt about it. There are issues with Jalen Hurts. He's got to clean up. I'm just not to that point where some people are of saying, "Oh, he's never going to be this in the NFL." You don't know that, guys. Most of you guys don't know the game well enough to make those kind of statements. I'm just going to be honest. I don't know. I can't even tell you if he is or isn't. It's hard to say. Some guys get it. Some guys don't. Natira said, it's not that we lost, it's how we lost. Hurts reverted back to his old self with missed reads, bad passes, early scrambles, very worrisome. Yeah, I want to caution something here, Natira, and this goes into the point I was just making. I can't say those things definitively without all 22 film, right? We say that he missed reads, but how do you know he's not half-field reading? You get what I'm saying, Natira? People are getting too reactionary. And I get it. Look, guys, I'm not challenging you because you're reactionary because you're an Eagles fan, just like I am, and you're frustrated at the product we put out on the field. But I'm just saying definitively, you cannot make certain statements without the all-22. It doesn't mean you're wrong. It means it's an unknown. All-22 reveals all. Exactly, Ted. We need Tom Brady. No, we don't. He's like freaking 40-some years old, man. Like, no, we don't. We don't need that, Chris. Cornerback, linebacker, defensive end. Yes, all three levels of the defense, Ted, I agree. All three levels of the defense have got to be addressed, man. It's just not good enough. Our defense is just not good enough yet. And some of that is on the play calling. Like, I do think that there are areas where Jonathan Gannon has to get better. It seemed to me that they were hearing how tough the Bucs interior D-line and seeing 8 in the box, and they played scared. I don't think they played scared. I think they played reactionary, Drew. And I do agree with your assertion you made there, which is the Bucs loaded the box. And they did that in the first game, too, to knock us out of running the football. And we fell right into their trap. And I will say not every team can do what Tampa Bay can do. Not every team has the personnel to get away with doing that, to be quite honest. You know what I mean? Like, not every team has Ndamukong Suh and has Vita Vea on the interior of their defensive line. Not every team has the speed of the linebacking core that Tampa Bay does to challenge you on the edges, right? Not every team has the guys that can play coverage well enough on the back end to challenge us like that. But some of this also has to do with the Eagles personnel, Drew, to be honest. Like, we need receivers outside of just Goddard and just outside of Devontae Smith that could potentially beat, these type of coverage situations, whether they're cover 1 or cover 3ing us. They went single high and they dared us to throw the ball out. And we couldn't do it. And look, I'm not happy with what I saw out of Rager. I'm not happy where JJ was. Like, those two guys, like, it's getting frustrating. It's getting frustrating. And you're not going to cut a first-round pick. I'm going to tell you that right now, guys. It's probably very unlikely they're going to cut him. But I think, and I hope they're smart enough to realize you can't depend upon him. So he's going to have to earn his way onto the field. Meaning, in 2022, you got to assume that guy is just a special teamer's role player that's not going to contribute to your offense unless there's an injury. And you got to make him earn his way back onto the field. Drew, you know how it is, man. I can't predict they're going to do that. Who the heck knows? But that's what I'm hoping they're going to do. Ted Nicholas and safety. Yeah, all three levels, man. All three levels of the defense really and honestly needs talent and fusion. No doubt about it. I agree. We have too many holes to not pick the best player available. Exactly, Chris. Like that's the thing I'm saying is like you have so many areas of need. You just have to truly pick the guy who can be an actual like impact player in the NFL. You have to identify who it is, and you have to go get that guy. Don't worry about position of need because you got a lot of needs. You really have a lot of needs, honestly. I'll tell Tampa Bay. I almost said tailback, Ted. Tampa Bay dared Hurts to beat them with an arm. Reality struck. Yeah, no, you're right about that. That's exactly what they did, Ted. They loaded the box and knew they had the team speed to contain the outside. They got caught by Jalen Hurts a couple of times, but for the most part, they knew they had the team speed to contain the outside. They brought an extra defender in the box to help out with the interior inside run stuff and dared us to throw the ball. And it wasn't good enough. You're right. Superhero said, I think you try to attack both sides as aggressively as you can. I agree. In terms of the draft, I agree. Like you find the best player available. Simply put, this team is not good enough to bypass a guy just because we feel we're strong at a position. Like, no, we're not strong enough at any position. Like, if there's a guy out there that's going to be a 10 to 12 year NFL starter and can play football, you got to draft that guy. Chris said, and the owner is dead set on building an elite offense. Yeah, Chris, that's my concern. That is my concern, Chris, is that when I looked at this, why did we revert back to this? Why in the heck did we revert back to this? It felt more like an evaluation than us trying to win an actual playoff game. I didn't like it, man. I didn't like it. I haven't really watched any of the quarterbacks coming out this year. I'm about 2 games into their 2020 film for the top 4 guys. Malik Willis and, Matt Corral and Kenny Pickett and those guys. Like, I'm like 2 games into a 4-game duration. I'm going to look at 2020. Then I'm going to look at 4 games from their 2021 period. Obviously, since the Eagles just got bounced from the playoff guys, that's going to accelerate my time on my timeline. Like, I'm going to be doing a lot of that. I got Allie's going to be coming on, help me do that. I got some people behind the scenes that are going to help break that stuff down, and we're going to get it back out to you guys. Kerrigan 8 against 2 players that couldn't walk. It really wasn't impressive. It's not a matter of being impressive, Marky Mack. You beat what's in front of you, and he beat what was in front of him, and it reverted into 2 sacks and helped us actually get off the field on 3rd down. Like, Superhero said at 9-8 as a rebuilding team, of course, there's a lot of unknowns. Yeah, I mean, I just don't think that the talent level is good enough here, Superhero, to bypass a position. We can't say, it's not a position of need. Did you watch the season? Everything is a position of need, in my opinion. But I will say that the more you break it down, the more you've got to use your top 100 picks in this draft. Yeah, I mean, I think there's an argument to be made, Superhero, about targeting guys. It's the problem I have with how he's drafts. And I thought he had a really good 2020 draft, to be honest. But I did feel like that there were opportunities with the amount of picks we had in 2020 to have gone up and gotten a cornerback. You know what I'm saying? You could have still gotten Milton Williams. You could have still gotten Landon Dickerson and still used a lot of these picks you had to have played the board potentially and gotten up there. Because now we're kind of in that situation where Zach McPherson is the young cornerback we're trying to evaluate. And we got a lot of guys that are 5th and 6th round picks behind them. I don't know what we really have there. You know what I mean? Superhero 18, I really wish they would have been more aggressive. So when I look at the top 100, to me, it's kind of like you should have a list of guys that you feel like are truly going to be those guys in the NFL. And, man, go get them. Like, we have an arsenal of picks. Go make it happen, honestly. Drew said, we didn't use Howard or Boston Scott much. Seems like the same game plan as the last time we played them. Hard to say without seeing the All-22, Drew, but there are elements of the game plan that did seem eerily similar. Trying to throw the ball on tunnel screens outside, right? Things like that. It was like, man, like we did not learn our lesson from that because they clearly shut that down the first time. I don't know why we thought it was going to work the second time, especially when their secondary got healthy. Made no sense to me. We could trade back and accumulate draft picks. Wide receiver is a definite need. I agree, Brian. Chris said there's a good crop of free agent wide receivers. I hear what some of you guys are saying, Chris, and I'm not saying you, Chris. I know that you're a little bit more level-headed when it comes to evaluating this stuff, but the thing I push back on people is like when they speak about Jalen Hurts and this guy isn't the guy and all that. Well, if you're telling me that, then how are you in the same breath saying that you're going to attract one of these top-tier free agent wide receivers? Then why would they want to come here and play? You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't – like, the whole perspective which they're bringing doesn't make sense to me. If a free agent wide receiver is coming here to play, it's going to be here to play with Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't know, man. I don't know. Natira, so Gate, what's the point drafting offensive guys when your quarterback keeps missing wide open reads? But see, Natira, that's what I'm talking about. People keep saying these things like this, but they're not consulting the film. And a lot of people who are saying this don't actually know how to read offensive concepts. So they don't know how to judge if something's a half field read or if it's a full field read. They don't understand the route combinations and what's supposed to be done. Natira, I can't tell you how many times I've watched YouTubers pull up film and say this route was wide open. But what they don't understand, because they didn't play the position and never coached before, is it was a clear route. So unless you know for a fact that Jalen Hurts has the green, the green flag, the green light to throw that route if it comes open, then you don't know what you're talking about. Like, they have to understand the concept of the route combinations. And there's a lot of that kind of crap out here on YouTube. And I do the best I can to explain to people when it's like, hey, this is the route. This is the route combination. This is normally what happens. And there's some elements of unknown here, because sometimes a guy like Aaron Rodgers has the, a clear green light. If you see that a member of, a safety, or you see a corner's leverage is all wrong, and that route's going to probably come open, you have the green light to take that route. Some guys, it's a little more complex, where they'll say, you have the green light if X, Y, or Z thing happens. And then you're dependent upon the quarterback to make the determination that X, Y, or Z thing happened. Some guys don't have the green light material. They do not have the ability to make a unilateral decision to go off schedule, because that's what you're talking about, to play off schedule and go outside the play design to then hit something like that. So that's what I'm saying with people, Natira. There's a lot of these really bad takes out there because they don't have the full perspective of how the position is played. Chris said, if we can get an Allen Robinson, the receiving corps will be great. Why trade back just to pick more busts? They did pretty good last year, and they did pretty good in 2018, Marky, to be fair. Superhero 18 said that is true. Rager has to go, not saying we would have won, but that muff killed any momentum we had. Yeah, it was a bad time for that kind of to happen on the field. There's no doubt about it. Completely killed the course of the game. I agree. Yeah, a little double team blocking, something, crack block, anything. They needed to try more, in my opinion. I thought we just got completely away from our identity, which I would have rather lost with our identity and at least had a feel for what was going on than to play against our identity and really have more questions than we have answers now. Patrick said, what do you think is going to happen with Brooks? I think that one of two things will happen. They'll either restructure the contract just because he's got way too much money that's counting against 2022's cap, or he's going to get probably June 1st designated and cut or traded. I don't think there's going to be trade value for him, though, Patrick, to be honest, just because you got to find another team that's willing to take on that kind of money. You get what I mean? Like, I don't know that there's a team out there that wants to take on that kind of money for the player that has this kind of health concern. Michael said, we didn't even attempt to establish the inside running game. At least make them take it away. Don't just punk out like we did. Shaking my head. Yeah, I don't know, man. Shonoff said, I'm not a big fan of Nick's play calling or scheme, really. I don't care for the route combos and plays. He seems to treat every down like first down a lot. I disagree. I think you're discounting how good he is as a play caller and how good his scheme actually is. I just think that sometimes we go into games and it seems more like an evaluation than it is to attack your opponent. Early on in the season, Shonoff, that was clearly an evaluation of Jalen Hurts. That wasn't Nick Sirianni necessarily trying to draw up his best scheme, per se. He was trying to draw up his best scheme to evaluate Jalen Hurts, not necessarily the best scheme to defeat an opponent. I do see nuances in his scheme and there, to be fair, Shonoff, I don't know what's going on in terms of Jalen Hurts and what the reads are, if he's half field reading, full field reading, and things like that. What he actually has the actual ability to make decisions on. I don't know what kind of autonomy he's given at that line of scrimmage yet. That's a big unknown. But I will say that there are things that come open. It's just a matter of the circumstances behind why they're coming open and what's going on here. Is Jalen not reading the right side of the field? Is that play being removed because it's a clear route? I think that you're underestimating some of the problems that are beneath the surface, and Nick's doing a better job than what people realize. Philly Fan D said, also, I think Devontae should have come back to the ball on the INT in the end zone. He had to see the other defender coming. I think they both were losing their footing, the Philly fan B. But I get what you're saying. You gotta become a defender at times too. Queasy the Great said, we did not come to play at all. Offensive line lost the game too, and we just don't have any consistent playmakers on this team. I do think the playmakers aspect is an issue, Queasy. I don't think that the team was unprepared or didn't come to play. I think they came to play. I just think they came with like I said, this felt like more of an evaluation to me than it did as the best game plan you could put forward to attack an opponent. It felt very much like what we were doing in the early season. And I just don't understand why we reverted back to that unless, Queasy, the other side of this is who knows the health of the running backs? I don't know. Maybe that's the problem, and they just didn't want to reveal the exact nature of the injuries. It's hard to say, man. It's really hard to say. Chaos said, you think Nick could be let go? No, Nick's not going anywhere, guys. Nick's not going anywhere, guys. You're not going to fire a first-year head coach, a rookie head coach to put you in the playoffs and does that type. No, guys, he's not going anywhere. Michael said, we didn't even attempt to establish the inside zone game. At least make them take it away. Yeah. NFL Scout at game said Hurts regressed. Yeah, Ted, I get what he's saying, but I also disagree that you can make that assumption based upon a single game. He regressed inside a singular game. You get what I mean, Ted? Like that's kind of hard to try to carry out to an entirety of a season. You know what I mean? So I mean that definitely is an issue. Queez the Great said, we draft all defense with our picks and sign a big name wide receiver in the offseason. But once again, Queasy, here's my thing: is that if people are saying that Jalen Hurts isn't the guy, what wide receiver is signing up to come here, man? That's the thing. Like, either Jalen Hurts is your guy and he can help you attract in guys to help bring playmakers to the offense, or he's not the guy, and you're going to have to spend some of that draft capital to bring in young talent at the offensive side too of the football. Like, you can't, like, people like Queasy, I'm not saying it's you, but there are a lot of people who are trying to have things both ways, and you can't. It's just not the way the game works. 23 days later said, hey, man, tough loss for us last night. What do you think of us trying to get a wide receiver like Juju or Calvin Ridley? Nothing against Smith because he's amazing, but I think a star veteran would help him a lot. Yeah, I mean, look, the offense could definitely use somebody that can separate and win. They can use a veteran presence. They can use all those things, guys. No doubt about it. You ready to part with Ragergate? Yes and no. Am I ready to remove him from the offense? Absolutely. I just don't think that young man should be a part of your offense in 2022 without earning it. I think that you should not view him as somebody that you can count on. I also realize that he's a first-round pick, and they're not going to just probably outright cut him. Maybe they might be able to find a trading partner to land with him, but I don't think his trade value is that high, guys, to be honest. Maybe you can try to make it look better knowing that by trading to get a player and trading Rager and other assets to make it – you get what I'm saying? Like, you can try to manipulate the interpretation of that a little bit, but my honest opinion is they're probably going to keep him here. He's probably going to get buried on the roster, and I think that they're going to realize that they cannot depend upon him, and you have to bring people in that are more dependable as a number 2 option in the offense. Superhero 18 said, Jonathan Gannon is so weird. He knows his own defense coverage schemes doesn't work, or at least doesn't fit the personnel that he has. Then after being exposed, he adjusts and it goes well. If Minshew was starting, we would have won. I disagree with that, Chris. We got to stop doing that stupid stuff, man. That's a really bad take. I mean, like, dude, are you Nostradamus? Can you prognosticate the future here? Like, come on, man. We got to stop with that stuff. Brian said Hurts can't throw with timing or anticipation. Also have 0 deep ball accuracy. Brian, I agree with what you're saying right now, but those same things applied to Josh Allen is what I'm trying to get people to understand. So we can't necessarily assume just because that's where he stands currently, there are some mechanical flaws with his game. And if he doesn't clear it up, he's clearly not going to make it in the league. Doesn't mean that he won't get there either, guys. That's what I'm trying to get people to understand. You see Rager still being on the spot after last game in this season in totality? Honestly, guys, probably. He's probably still going to be here. Like I said, guys, I would hope that the coaching staff comes to the realization that he's a first-round pick, so it's going to be really hard to get rid of him. But at the same time, like I said before, you can't depend upon him. You just cannot depend upon him. You have to move on. We need a wide receiver too. Jalen looked uncomfortable all game. Rager is buns. I didn't see a game plan, just random play calling. It's hard. See, the thing is, though, T. Lewis, is I don't really – I look at the game plan from the totality, say, what was the objective? That's the part I don't get. It's like, what was your objective here? To try to get to the edges? It is what it is in terms of that aspect of things. But I don't want to fully grade out the game plan without seeing the all-22 and see, okay, what was the leverage of the defense and what the heck was Nick trying to do? You can't really tell that, guys. Even the coaches don't know that from the sideline. They can make certain determinations, guys, but I promise you, the majority of that stuff comes from film study. Taekwon TV, what's up, buddy? Say, hey, Gates, what are the expectations for the offseason? We gotta find guys that can come in here and contribute, Taekwon. I mean, to be quite honest, man, I think that they have to go get – if you can go get an impact wide receiver, if you can get a guy that can be a number 2 and can really do some things out there. Mike Williams, right? Calvin Ridley, Allen Robinson. If you can find a way of getting the money to get those guys, go get them. Queez the Great said, when Rager fumbled the ball, that killed us mentally. It didn't help, that's for sure, man. Big Moose said, do you think our offense is compromised? Compromised, I'm sorry. This is not Giants in Tampa that put the formula out there to all 32 teams on how to beat us. Not exactly, Big Moose, because I think what the Giants did was a little different from what Tampa did. But I do worry that what Tampa did to take Jalen away, take the running game away with Jalen, if a team can and here's the thing, not everybody has the same personnel. Not everybody's going to have Ndamukong Suh, not everybody's going to have Vita Vea to fight on the interior of the offensive line. But if you have those guys that can give up a fight, there's a bit of a blueprint. There's definitely a blueprint there, man. Dallas also dropped a key pass in the game. Yeah, Dallas Goedert. That's kind of a give and take with Dallas, man. He's a good player. He's going to make big plays, but he's also going to make some really horrible plays at times where he's just dropping footballs that shouldn't happen. D-line depth and talent is number 1 for me, honestly. Natira said, Gate, they were stacking the box and daring Hurts to pass. What should Sirianni have done? He tried to run early and got smothered. I think you try to do more with eye manipulation, Natira. I think you try to manipulate the eyes of the defense more than what he tried to do, to be quite honest. I think you could have still run at them. 3 to 4 yards set you up for a much more manageable third down in distance. That's what getting away from the passing game does to you when you're trying to attack outside with either outside runs where a team has the speed to float to the outside and shut it down, or with those tunnel screens to where, I'm sorry, I love Devontae Smith. He's good at a lot of things, but blocking on the outside is not it, man. When he plays more physical corners, I mean, that's not the matchup, man. He's effort. I respect the guy's effort, but he's not good at doing it. And those guys shut that down. I think the right role to do here was you had the double wing formation. You should have done more things out of that double wing formation to play with the eyes of the defense. In my opinion, I still think that they should have ran more. Instead of trying to run those tunnel screens, they should have done more running back and tight end screens. I don't know why Sirianni completely went away from trying to screen that way. Superhero 18 said, I would have tried to attack the flats. You've got a solid pass catcher in Gainwell who has a bit of Brian Westbrook in him. And I think he can be an elite back in this league. I don't know about elite back, Superhero, but I think he can be a very good pass catching option. Chris said they do click sometimes. Yeah, his heels. Dallas Goedert is driving me crazy. He makes all the hard catches and drops possible touchdowns. Yeah, I mean, he's looking upfield to make a play, guys, before he secures the catch, which, obviously you don't need me to tell you that, guys. That's a big no-no. Superhero said, try to get guys like Sue in them in space, make them run around. They may be big, but they can't cover space. I agree, Natiro. I think that's the problem, Superheroes. You're discounting how athletic their linebackers are, and they get to the flats. They get to the flats and they cover it. I think the better option here is to try to set your blocks up, but you need a faster progressing screenplay. The problem with the tunnel screen is it takes longer for that to develop. And I think that you can hold your blocks easier if you're going to release on something like a tight end screen. I think it's a little easier to hold those blocks and not have guys getting downfield, wait for the ball to be released, and then do it. Where I think if you're throwing the ball to the outside, it's really hard for the offensive line to know where everything is in terms of the spacing, in terms of them getting downfield. So I think that they should have done the opposite. I kind of agree with Natiro on Queasy the Gray said, we took Devontae out of the game. It's sad. He's not our first option on offense. It's got to, Dallas or Devontae pretty much by default has to be. But I do agree, Queasy. It was kind of weird that they didn't really try to work things for Devontae early in the game. Not too sure why they didn't do it, but they didn't do it. Are they, though? We tried getting Devontae some easy catches late, and he turned on the Jets. If we tried attacking the edges earlier, it might have made a difference. Sam said, speaking of Josh Allen, did you see that throw to Dawson Knox for the touchdown? Holy cow, that's what we need from Hurts. Yeah, Josh Allen's arm talent it's ridiculous, man. It's next level. It's just next level, man. It's hard to find dudes that can do that, man. Like, that's why I always thought it was crazy with Buffalo, which is I agreed that, when Buffalo wanted to run Josh Allen out of there, I agreed with their overall premise that Josh Allen was not seeing the field. Like, clearly playing out Wyoming and stuff like that, he just wasn't ready for an NFL field yet. But you could see the underlying talent in that dude's arm talent. It's like, you know what? You got NFL coaches. Give this dude time. This is a guy I give 3 years before I try to move on from. 23 days later said Josh Allen has way more arm talent than Jalen at the moment. Josh Allen proved to me you can improve that in terms of what Jalen needs to work on, his deep ball accuracy. Yeah, 23 days later, I'm not comparing their arm talent. But in terms of their ability to read coverage and their ability versus pressure and things like that, there's some similarities here. Like, that's what I'm trying to caution people. Just because a guy is not quite there yet, some people are jumping ship too soon. Queasy said, I agree, but my point is they never throw his way in the first half when he had one-on-one coverage. Natiro said, Gate, for every Josh Allen, there are 10 Sam Darnolds. But think about the point you just made, Natiro. Sam Darnold is not the same category of quarterback. To be fair, Natiro, Sam Darnold does not have the ability to extend plays. Sam Darnold does not have the ability to play off schedule the way Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts do. The reason guys like Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, these dudes can stick longer in the league, whether they ever catch on to reading defenses, Donovan McNabb, Steve McNair, Steve Young, all these dudes, was the fact that they were athletic enough to actually extend plays and keep themselves in a play long enough to make something happen. So that can extend their career long enough for the game to slow down and catch up to them. It doesn't mean it's going to work with every guy, Natira, I agree, but I also think it's entirely too early to make that determination yet. Now, I'm not saying you don't make Jalen Hurts have to go out there and earn the spot in 2022. I think he should have to compete with Gardner Minshew. But I also don't think it means he's cooked, guys. I think some people are just too reactionary. I just don't think that Jalen Hurts has shown me progression, and that's the issue. Then you haven't looked at the film close enough, superhero. I'm just going to be honest, man. He's definitely progressed throughout the season. I can understand I don't think he's progressed far enough, but to say he's shown you none, it's too reactionary, man. It's too reactionary of a take. Take away his rushing production and his arm production, leave a lot to be desired. Right. Take away Hussein Bolt's legs and he can't run that fast. What are you talking about, man? You can't, that doesn't make sense, man. Chris said players don't progress linearly. It's not like Madden. Chris, I got to disagree with you, man. I'm a military guy. And the way you progress a guy is by getting them experience. The more you get them inside of experience, the more you give them looks at doing something, everybody gets better at it. Doesn't mean, some guys are exceptionally better at it than others, but you're going to get improvement, right? Because things are going to become instinctual. You're going to do it so many times. You're going to face that rep so many times that it's going to become instinct to you. There's a reason why Tom Brady, with these new rules where you can't even touch the quarterback, I don't even feel like getting into that, but that Derek Barnett call was complete and utter BS. There's a reason why that guy can still make it in the league. And it's because right now he's played in the league so long, everything is on autopilot for him. There's nothing that he has not gone through instinctually yet in terms of the circumstance and situation. So I have to disagree with you a little bit there. Vester said, morning, fellas. What's up, buddy? Of course, I have my doubts about Hurts as well. I do too. To be fair, Chris, I have my doubts about him as well. I don't know if he's going to be that guy or not, but it's hard to say that, guys. Like, I just, I think that there's reasons to think he could be the guy if you give him time to develop. And I think there's reasons to say I'm very, very concerned about what I'm seeing here. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to go down to the super chat. Guys, give me 1 second, man. Ryan Benegui, man, I appreciate the $4.99 super chat, buddy. Appreciate you, man. I'm going to come up a little bit here, guys. I'm sorry, but I want to catch up to catch more relevant comments right now, guys, for the conversation we're at, because we're a little far behind here. Matera said, Gate, it's not only YouTubers saying he misses reads. Even experienced ex-NFL players are saying it. Pause. That's not true. That's not true. I'm going to call some people out on that. Some of you guys don't understand the points that guys like JT O'Sullivan and Kurt Warner and guys like that are making because you haven't played the position. Your guys are missing the parts where they say this route comes open, but I don't know exactly the autonomy the player has at the line. I don't know if he's half-field reading. You guys miss that aspect of things, and they say that, and you guys miss it, to be honest, Natiro. It happens a lot. Clifton said, what do you think of a Kirk Cousins trade? Put Hurts behind him, learn how to pass better. But you're right. This draft should be on the defensive side of the ball and find 1 to 2 wideouts. Rager's not good. I don't know, man. I think you got to be careful trading for a guy like Kirk Cousins because what you're doing is adding a ton of money. You get what I'm saying? You're adding a ton of money to your cap. Caleb said, I agree with you 100%, bro. I see it all the time with people having bad takes about teams, especially when it comes to O-line. They have no clue, can't even draw up. Exactly, Caleb. That's the problem I have is that they're taking a very generic standpoint about things. And then when real insiders are actually breaking it down, they're only hearing what they want to hear, and they're missing the greater analysis that's being made. It happens all the time, man. All the time. It's frustrating to deal with that. Not sure if you're developing Hurts if you bench him. I think it is a sign of giving up. But to me, that's kind of a bit limiting when you explain how the offense philosophy of these coordinators are. Because in reality, no defensive player is perfect. There's bound to be a mess up. Right, but every team has different strengths, man. Even former players talk out of their butts sometimes. I agree. But I also think that people are completely misunderstanding the points that people are missing. I still think that they're missing the overall points of guys. And they're taking some of their evaluation out of the context in which it's being given. Allison said Hurts has gotten better, still a leader, a decent athlete, but the 3 P's. Is he more patient in the pocket? Is he throwing from a better platform? But I question his progressions in terms of what he's seeing on the field in terms of progressions. I don't know what to make of the progressions, Allie, because I don't know, like I said, I don't know what the autonomy is. Like without knowing the autonomy of the player and what he's allowed to do, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if you have to look at the play concept and say, okay, generally speaking, when you see this play concept, you know it's a half-field read. Guys, one of the biggest, I'll give you a big takeaway today about judging half-field reads, okay? One of the biggest takeaways from a half-field read is a lot of times, and it doesn't mean it's always a half-field read, but this is one of the telltale signs that you've got a half-field read on your hands. When you look to that side of the field, if you map out the receivers, they almost make a triangle, guys, to be quite honest. You almost make a triangle. When you look at that's normally a pretty good indication that you have a half-field read to that side of the field. Okay, it doesn't always mean that, but that's normally a really good indication there. That's something to always look for on film. I think a lot of people, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I think a lot of people are making some bad assumptions there. But I do agree with something you're saying here, which is I think he's gotten better at times with his patience in the pocket. I don't think he's throwing from a better platform. I think that's the bigger problem here, Allison, is that he's not throwing from a better platform. And that's a problem. I love his route combination. I do too. I think Nick Sirianni is actually being very underrated for what he does from a route combination standpoint. I think he's a lot better than people think at drawing that stuff up. I'm just wondering, like I said, Chris, I'm wondering how much they're giving Hurts to do. I mean, how much is he allowed? What is the autonomy of the player? And is that something that has to be addressed in the offseason that, look, man, we kind of held him back. We made him look bad on film because we removed reads from him, and those reads came open. That's something you got to talk about. And then, you know, to be honest, Jalen's got to do some work with a private coach, Chris. He's got to work with a private coach. His footwork is atrocious on deep passes. It just is, man. He throws, like, I gotta agree with Allie in that perspective that the platform which he throws from is just flawed. It's really bad on deep passes. So basically, this was a preseason playoff game. I don't know if I would say it was a preseason playoff game, Allie, but I would say that it felt more of an evaluation mode than in like an actual like trying to beat your opponent. It felt like you were trying to evaluate something more than you were trying to win the game. I don't know. I mean, like I said, Allie, I mean, I'd have to give Nick an opportunity to explain the scheme after seeing the all 22. I'd have to then give Nick an opportunity to explain what he was trying to accomplish. But to me, it felt like you were trying to evaluate the quarterback position more than you were trying to actually capitalize upon what the defense is giving you, per se. I don't know, man. The wide receiver spacing seems off to me. There was one play in particular where he got called out for the spacing. I agree. But you also got to keep in mind that sometimes that has to do with the way that receivers are stemming the route too, Allie. So that could have been really on the receivers stemming the route incorrectly. Jazz Fusion said, time waits for no man. Give him a year. They said, okay, year over. He can't pass well enough to win the prize. Neither, but here's my thing, Jazz Fusion. Everyone keeps giving these hot takes. Everyone keeps giving these hot takes. All right. Josh Allen wasn't the dude after 2 years either. How stupid would Buffalo look if they had made the decision to move on from Josh Allen, right? The only real difference here that we're talking about is Josh Allen was a first-round pick, so it makes it harder to move on from him. Jalen Hurts is a second-round pick. If Jalen Hurts is a first-round pick, this conversation is drastically different. Tough loss to watch, Gate. All in all, it was a good season, and I can't wait for the draft content. Yeah, it was a good season. I still think this team has a lot to improve upon. I do. Chris, that would make me really, really angry. Watch Rager get traded and then get good. I would be ticked. The S is for sarcasm. Was yesterday JJ's last official game as an Eagle? I don't know, Cree. I think it's possible. I definitely think it's possible that not because like they're going to cut him or any drastic thing like that. I think that they're going to try to upgrade the receiving core. And I don't know that there'll be as many spots for guys. And JJ's a guy that I think he could get knocked off the roster. He's in the last year of a contract. You know, he hasn't been good. I do think he's in a situation. My bad, Chris. If I missed something you were saying sarcastically, I apologize, buddy. Some of these people with these takes can't even draw up power play. Yeah, exactly. David Barry, exactly. Love Philly, but always has to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Yeah. All players get better after they leave Philly. I don't know about all players, but there's definitely been cases, Anthony, you're right, where guys have gotten better after they left. And that's kind of a shot at the coaching staffs when that happens. Cool story. Mama Kelsey made it to both her sons' playoff games. Talk about a proud and dedicated mom. Whew. Yeah, that's a lot of traveling. You want Godwin, Chris Godwin? Does the ACL concern you? Because he blew out more than his ACL, didn't he, Chris? VFA for offense, draft, defense. But right, all right. So you talk free agency for offense, Jazz, right? But you just literally said you don't think Jalen Hurts is the guy and that we should move on from him. What wide receiver, what offensive player is signing up for that, man? That's what I'm saying. Some of these takes, they're not consistent. Cree said, will Fletcher Cox be back next season at his current salary? Challenging. It's hard to move on from Fletch because of how much it costs. He's got a lot of dead money in the contract. You're going to incur a hit to your cap. With that said, they were willing at the right price to move him during the trade deadline. The discussion I heard, and who knows if it's accurate, but the discussion I heard is that they told him if they couldn't move him at the trade deadline, it would be unlikely he'd get moved during the offseason. And Fletch agreed to it. The thing I'll say, Cree, is always leave yourself the door slightly ajar, slightly open, just because, I think if someone comes in who's trying to compete. They get deep in these playoffs and they feel like they're down one interior pass rusher to really make the push, and they can't get that guy in the draft. Maybe a guy like Fletcher does become more attractive to them, and maybe they do move the Eagles off of that by giving them a really good 2023 pick. Because I think it's always a possibility, but there are complications to it. They should have just tried Hightower. Couldn't have done worse than Rager. Something's going on with Hightower clearly, guys. Glizzy said, I was with you, Gate, on getting a second wide out, but it's no point if the quarterback can't get them the ball. I watched Quez running wide open all season. He should have had way more looks this year. Glizzy, but that's what I'm saying, guys. Guys are saying these type of takes, but you have to consult the coach's film, and you have to understand route combinations to understand what the reads will be. And we're making a lot of assumptions here, Glizzy. And I'm not saying you. It's really the YouTube community of guys who haven't played the position and have never coached before. They'll show these things up here, and it sways all you guys into believing this stuff, but they're leaving out the context of things. Like, they're not telling you whether or not it's a half-field read, okay? They're certainly not telling you whether or not that route combination is a clear route that comes open and whether or not Jalen Hurts has the autonomy to throw that football. If you listen to guys like JT O'Sullivan and Kurt Warner and those guys, if you listen closely to what they're saying, they're telling you that in the analysis that, hey, this does come open, but what I'm uncertain of is if he's half-field reading and if he has the autonomy to take, a clear route, to throw the ball to a clear route if it becomes open. Those are things you cannot know without talking to coach and quarterback. You have to be in that room to know that. And I think there's a lot of people making a lot of takes like that are just incorrect, man. Richard said Cox is expendable to drop and too old to extend or restructure. Too expensive to drop. My bad, Richard. Yes, I think that's kind of the complexity of the situation. I think if a team really came in with an attractive offer, they would move Fletch. But I think that it's hard to predict what team would give that up. You know what I mean? It's the same problem with Brandon Brooks. Brandon Brooks is still a good player, but he's often injured. What team is going to come along and give you that kind of value for Brandon Brooks in terms of the trade? I think Brandon Brooks is far more likely to either have his contract restructured or to be June 1st designated and cut, to be honest. I mean, I would love to trade him. I just don't know that a team's going to value him enough. I mean, maybe you get lucky and maybe you get like maybe you get like a day 3 pick for Brandon Brooks, which is horrible to say because when he's on the field, he's way better than any day 3 pick's going to be. But he's not on the field a whole lot. You know what I mean? He's getting older. What's up, Ryan? He said, I didn't understand the whole game plan. It seemed like the coaching scheme was lazy. I wouldn't say it was lazy. It just felt like the way I look at it, Ryan, is like it felt more like an evaluation than trying to attack your opponent. It just felt like they were trying to evaluate the quarterback position more. Like they valued evaluating the quarterback position more in this moment against a quality opponent like Tampa Bay than they did actually trying to win the game. Now, like I said, I can't say 100% certainty that's what happened, right? I mean, there are elements to the game that I don't know. Like I don't know the actual health of the running backs. It could have just been an issue where Nick is like not going to reveal, not going to call guys out, but they just weren't healthy. So you couldn't really resort into that. But it's what it felt like, at least. To me, it's what it felt like. The Gambling Hippie said, though I put this already, can't find it, but I like James Cook in the 3rd round. If he is anything like his brother Dalvin, it's a huge deal. Have you seen much on him? Not yet, the Gambling Hippie. Not yet, buddy. But I'm getting to those type of things, guys. Like, we're in the off season now, so there's going to be a lot of film study, guys. So pretty much like after I get off of here, I'll do a couple of things, with my wife because she's got the day off. It snowed its butt off here in North Carolina where I'm at, guys. But after that, I'm going to really dive into film study, and I'm going to be looking at free agents. I'm going to be looking at draft prospects. I'm going to be working on the guides. I did publish the quarterback journal for you guys. I'm waiting. It's still in review with Amazon. I need Amazon to release it from being in review. Once Amazon releases it from being in review, guys, I will provide you with the link to go get that. So that way, if you guys want to grade film, if you guys have all 22 access, and if you guys don't know how to get all 22 access, hit me up on Twitter, guys. Here, let me pull it down. Hit me up on Twitter at HiderSteve, and I'll tell you guys what you can do to get all 22 access. It's not that hard. With that said, I have a quarterback tracking journal, guys, to help you guys look at the game, kind of chart some stuff. And then if you hit me up in the comment sections, I'll tell you from that basic chart I'm giving you where to then go further to kind of judge what you're seeing. Do some Kyle Shanahan stuff with the running game. Injuries to Hurts, Howard, and Sanders limited to the run options. I think that's a possibility, Jazz. I think that is a possibility. James Cook wasn't used a bunch either, so a lot of tread on the tires. James Cook. Yeah. I mean, his brother's been hurt a lot, though, to be honest. But I don't know, just because they're brothers doesn't mean they had the same issues. But I don't know much about him, Gambling Hippie. I have to look into him. Gainwell is a weapon. They haven't exactly figured out how to. Yeah, he really needs to be used from the slot a lot more than when he's being used. I love Gainwell out of the backfield, too. He's really good on the angle routes. He's really good going into the flats. He's good at all those things. They need to do a little more of that. Cree said, I figured as much. I knew that they dropped him. The cap hit would be substantial. Gleazy said, I'm not saying get rid of Hurts after this year, but if the chance comes to get a Wilson or a Carr at quarterback, I'm taking it. No hesitation. Yeah, I'm not going to try to compare Jalen Hurts to either one of those guys. They're far ahead of him. There's no doubt about that. I will say that Derek Carr, to be fair, Derek Carr has had struggles in crucial moments in making some head scratching plays. I'm not too sure what he was looking at in that final play in that playoff game. But overall, his play was pretty good. And he's certainly a far more progressed player from the pocket than Jalen. Like, it's not even, it's not a fair comparison. But when I look at these type of things, Gleazy, it's what's the cost? Like, am I going to have to give up 3 first-round picks to go get Russell Wilson? Because I better be able to get a wide receiver in free agency. And, man, we're setting ourselves up for some really, really difficult decisions defensively because we're going to waste a lot of draft capital to bring in a quarterback. Yes, that quarterback can definitely probably help you recruit a big-time, wide receiver to come to the city. But now you're going to expend a certain portion of your cap space to get that guy. Now, it does help because you took the 3 first-round picks away. You're not paying 3 first-round picks, but you got to pay Russell Wilson, and then you got to pay this receiver you're going to bring over. And then what do you do defensively, man? I mean, the defense is old. Like, that's the problem I have with that is, like, from a totality of the roster, I don't know that it makes us that much better. I mean, offensively, we'll be better. Defensively, could be worse. Chris said Gainwell can be our Nyheim Hines. I like Nyheim. We went to the same high school. Same college, too. Matt Hatter said we should get Cousins. He's a free agent next year. And how about had better stats. Sorry, man. Than Wilson and Watson. He's not a better player, though, Matt Hatter. Let's be honest. He's not a better player than Wilson or Watson. Yeah, Josh Allen has tremendous arm talent. I would have given Josh Allen 3-4 years before I was like, I'm moving on from that guy. Just because I knew that underneath all that, if you get this guy to start understanding coverage, you got something special. You can't teach talent. Hurts just doesn't have the talent to throw the ball. I disagree with that take. You can absolutely teach talent, man. Chris Pro says Cousins also has one of the best receivers in the league. He's also like 7-36 against winning competition. So, I mean, we're going to use a winning competition to be a defining stat about what we think about quarterbacks, which I think is highly flawed, guys. I mean, I don't value it. But the guy is 7-30, like 7-36 or 7-37. I do agree with that perspective, Matt Hatter. He does have a great arm. What's up? The coach Filiali said, I don't know, Gate. Hurts to me lost his job on national television. I think the coaching staff or front office wanted to see him step up. He failed. He lost his job. The throws he did make were horrible mostly. I mean, look, I'm not going to – the coach Philly, I'm not going to try to predict what the front office will or won't do. It's beyond my control. What I'm saying is people who are trying to tell me that Jalen Hurts is cooked and is never going to get better in the league, is never going to be that type of guy, it's too premature for that. If you took Josh Allen, who played more games in his first 2 years than Jalen did, and you looked at that guy, you would have never predicted what he did last year in 2020. He was far from being that guy over those first 2 years. So, I mean, I think it's more complex than people are making it out to be. But I'm not going to project what the front office will or won't do. It's completely beyond my control. I don't think Gannon knows how to play his defense players. Kerrigan didn't do anything this whole season until yesterday. Yeah, yes and no. I mean, he's got a scheme. You know what I'm saying, Ryan? The whole comment he made about not having a scheme was nonsense. But I don't know that he's got the players to match the scheme, and I don't think he's particularly great as a play caller yet. I mean, he's a young play caller, guys. He's got less experience, in my opinion, calling plays than Nick Sirianni does. I don't think that his play calling ability, I'm not saying he won't get there, and I generally practice patience with people, but I don't think it's there yet to utilize the talent he has on the field. So if you don't have guys that are complete scheme fits, I don't think that he's good enough to adapt his scheme yet. I still think he's in those baby phases of learning to call his own scheme. I think we're seeing why Charger fans were happy about Steichen leaving. Their main gripe, too many screens, not enough downfield plays. Sound familiar? Well, I remember it being more so, Michael, in terms of they were unhappy with the fact that he would run the ball in really weird down and distances. And to be fair, Michael, some of that wasn't Steichen, some of that was Anthony Lynn too. Anthony Lynn's a very conservative coach. Does Jalen Hurts debate talk is crazy? If you understand the business side alone, for the price we're getting Hurts for the cheap and can add more playmakers around him, and he has shown much improvement. I agree, Caleb. I agree. Like I said, I will never predict what the front office will do, Caleb, but I think your point has merit. The people aren't looking at how much it's going to cost to add a Wilson or somebody like that. Even to add a guy like Kirk Cousins is going to be a substantial cost. Get rid of Rager. We'll see, guys. I mean, like I said, I don't know. I mean, I definitely would try to improve my roster so Rager is not a guy that I need to depend upon. If we get rid of Jalen Hurts, it will set us back 2 to 3 years. Yo, Steve, these Eagle fans have been getting dumber by the minute. A year ago today, they all thought we on track to being the new Browns or Jets, and now they want to throw away Hurts. Kivo, I mean, you remember when I broke down Jalen's play last year, and I broke down his play in the offseason. Everyone said I was a Jalen hater because I spoke very clearly to where his development needs to be. When they named him the starter and I analyzed his film, now I'm a Jalen stan. Like, it's just, you can't be both things, guys. I can't be both. I don't make reactionary takes on things like that. I like to rally people, and I like to try to get after other fan bases when I make videos about, like, we got to go out there and take their lunch money and stuff like that. I'm joking around with people. But when I'm doing player evaluations, guys, I don't do these reactionary takes. I don't do those because it's not fair, and you guys are coming here to hear me do those takes. So if I start going reactionary on you and I start leaving out details that might conflict with what I'm saying, it's going to compromise things. Philly Fan D said, hope the front office has an open competition with Hurts and Minshew. Hope Hurts wins. I don't want our picks going to a Wilson or Watson. I agree, Philly Fan D. And I think they should do that. I do think there should be an open competition with two guys on rookie deals. Jalen's on a rookie deal. Gardner's on a rookie deal. I think there should be an open competition between those two guys. And whoever wins that, and look, they're different guys. These guys have a different play style. They're different guys. Whoever you feel after you evaluate these two guys gives you the better opportunity to win the football game should be your starter in 2022. And then I think you should be looking, because now if it's Jalen, you're talking about 3 years. If it's Gardner, the problem with Gardner is, and I think it's an unfair thing with Gardner, but even if he's in the middle of the road there and you don't know if he's ever going to progress, he's on the last year of a rookie deal, which kind of sucks for him because it definitely heightens things to where now you're like, crap, what do you do? But I definitely would give him 2022 to figure it out between the two of them. The Gambling Hippie said draft 2 or 3 defensive players in the first round, maybe Tyler Lindenbaum, then try to get a Mike Williams or Robinson. Mahomes looked great in the Super Bowl against the Bucs. You're confusing me, Mad Hat. Are you trying to be sarcastic, man? You're confusing me here because he didn't look great against the Bucs. His offensive line completely crumbled around him, and Mahomes did not look like Mahomes in that Super Bowl. I don't know, but I'm also recognizing you might be trying to be sarcastic here. Ryan said, what quarterback coaches do you think develop Hurts to become like Josh Allen? We have the right quarterback coach, guys. I wouldn't move off of Brian Johnson. I I was upfront with you guys when they put Press Taylor in as the quarterback coach. I told you it was nonsense. I told you that was a bad. I will never bullcrap you on that. I told you Press Taylor was bad news as quarterback coach. I don't feel that way about Brian Johnson. Caleb said, if you don't like Jalen Hurts, you would have to tell me for the price and what he has shown. It just shows how we want everything to be a microwave. Nobody wants people to develop any. Exactly. I disagree with the title, Steven. What do you mean, man? Future, what do you mean? I don't understand. What exactly do you disagree about the title with here, man? You would have to tell me what in particular about the title puts you off to it, because I don't really understand. Hey, Gate City, in my opinion, there was a good season considering where we were coming from. Off season will be crucial for Hurts' development, and we need to use this draft to help him out. Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to. The roster overall is a problem. We're down players here, and you know that's you could see the talent gap between where we are currently and where the upper third of the league is in terms of the roster. And I think that was glaringly obvious from this game that we have a long way to go in terms of the roster. I do think we got away from our identity. So, you know what I mean? I think that plays a role in it when you get away from your identity. And that kind of burned us a little bit from this season. You know, it sucks, guys. I'm not going to sit here and say that losing that game didn't suck. It sucked. But, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is. You disagree, so I'm confused. Future, you disagree we have a long way to go against good teams? This team is better than its record, but that doesn't have anything to do with the title, Future. And your standpoint doesn't make sense. If the quarterback lacks the autonomy, then what is the Eagles' passing attack going to look like in the future? The lack of an autonomy is honestly crippling. Not necessarily superhero. I think you're discounting how many quarterbacks don't have that autonomy early on in their careers. It's something that you have to earn. Now, like I said, it's more complex because a lot of times what happens, superhero, it's not like a single player lacks autonomy. Like, you know, I mean, it's not like they can't do anything, no adjustments at all. Like it's given in phases and in steps, and we don't know where that is with Jalen, right? Sometimes it's a big if scenario. It's if you get this. It's if the leverage is this. I don't know what that is, guys, without honestly being in the quarterback room or having a discussion with Nick Sirianni or Jalen Hurts to ask them straightforward, what is the autonomy of this player within these route combinations? What is he allowed to do? What is he not allowed to do? And that's something I don't think a lot of fans understand. They think that just because a guy comes open that the quarterbacks automatically have the autonomy to do that. And we can make the argument that autonomy or not, make the play, throw the ball. The problem is if you start missing on those, cough, cough, Carson Wentz, where you start making mistakes, going off script, going away from where your autonomy was supposed to be, and you miss on those plays, you're not going to have a happy coach. They're not going to trust you. They're not going to like you. It's going to be a problem, guys. I'm just going to be honest about that. They're going to be pretty ticked off about the circumstance. Robert said, I just need to see Jalen in the same offense for consecutive years to evaluate him. It's fair. Caleb said, Nick's play calling is as bad as people say. Only thing that really rubbed me wrong was our run game to have the number one O-line in the NFL and for Howard to have no carries. Boston Scott has one. I don't know. The game management aspect to it. So I think the design, I think he's better at route designs and route combinations people understand. But I think his game management needs work. Now, what I will say, Caleb, that concerns me is I don't know the health of the team. So I don't know how healthy Howard was. I don't know how healthy, I'm saying that Scott was. Well, Scott seemed perfectly healthy. I'm not going to say Scott, but how healthy Miles Sanders was. So I don't, it's hard to say. Gannon needs a tutor. I don't think Gannon was our problem in this game, Future. I think Gannon kind of held us in this game for a while, man, to be honest. I mean, that's a really good offense Gannon went up against. And Gannon did give us 4 opportunities in a row to try to get back in this football game. And the offense and special teams squandered every opportunity. I just got to call a spade, man. I thought Gannon played a lot better against better competition the second time around than what I saw offensively. A few of the route combinations got Smith and Dallas right next to each other, which I didn't like personally. You need to spread them out more this game at least. The gambling hippie, but you're making assumptions about the route design and concept. And oftentimes with young receivers who are not nuanced at running routes, what you get happening, and I'm telling you this as someone who's coached receivers, is that they don't take the stem of the route correctly. And what they're doing is they're basically cutting it off and narrowing it down too much. Generally speaking, when you get two players that close to each other, that's not normally the coaching, guys. That's normally one of the players did not stem that depth correctly. That's normally what happens, guys. I'm just going to be honest with you. Mahomes was 26 of 49 for 270 yards and 2 interceptions against the same Bucs defense in the Super Bowl. Whose numbers do these remind you of? Oh, you're being sarcastic. I get it, Matt Hatter. Sorry, I just couldn't tell if you were being sarcastic or not. The Niners went to – sorry, guys. The 49ers went to the Super Bowl with Jimmy G. Yeah, true. They did. They did, but I mean, Jimmy G, they went there in spite of Jimmy G. You know what I mean, Caleb? But yeah, I mean, if the Niners can get there, if you build a good enough defense, if you build a good enough team around a quarterback, even very subpar play, I promise you we can go with Hurts with some improvement. Eagles Atlantis said, "Hey, Steve, I appreciate your honesty and the way you look at things with fairness. I just can't take Hurts trying to play quarterback. I've seen enough. I think Kenny Pickett is a better option moving ahead." I don't know, man. I got my doubts about this draft class. Like I said, Eagles is land. I'm only really 2 games into their 2020 film and not even into their 2021 film yet. I normally do 4 games from the season prior, 4 games of the current year. It's normally what I do when I break down draft prospects. The 2 games I've saw so far from this draft class from 2020 is not good. These guys are not good versus pressure. They're not. It's bad, man. Even in the college game, all these top tier guys are really bad versus pressure. Matt Curl, all of them were in 2020. I mean, we'll see how much improvement they make from 2020 to 2021. But I got some concerns, to be honest with you. Eagles is landed. Like I said, the Bills fan base, not the front office. The Bills fan base was ready to give up on Josh Allen after 2019. Call a spade, and they would have made a huge mistake. I'm not saying Jalen Hurts will be Josh Allen, but they had a lot of similar issues here. Josh Allen didn't see the field well. He was horrible against pressure, way worse than Hurts is. Took too long to read things. His time to throws were really bad. His markers were. He wasn't a short strider. He was a long strider. Josh Allen was. He long strided like Carson does. Jalen Hurts is a little bit more toesy, heel clicky, a little bit more of a short strider is his issue, but they both had problems with their throwing base on deep balls. The more and more Josh Allen got exposed to coverage, the better he got at seeing it. The more and more he worked on his craft and worked on his footwork, the better his platform became throwing deep balls over 20, 25 yards. I'm not saying Jalen Hurts is going to get there, guys. Do not mistake what I'm saying. I'm saying you've got to be careful with that kind of stuff. I know what you meant, Caleb. Sirianni's O was not effectively executed by Hurts. It became Hurts' offense. That's a big assumption to make, Future, without seeing film, my guy, to be honest. I think some of you guys are making big assumptions. You could be right, Future, but I think it's a major assumption to make without seeing the film because we don't know what was being half-field read. We don't know the autonomy of the player on some of these routes. There's a lot to be discussed here in Future. I think some of you guys are too far into the hot takes. Jonathan said, "Why doesn't Goddard get more criticism for dropping multiple open passes after receiving a big contract?" Because of the big plays he makes on the other side of it, to be honest, Jonathan. Jeremiah said, "At least the Cowboys lost." That they did. Smith should be the number 1 receiver. He is the number 1 receiver, but they need to add talent around here to get Smith better opportunities because there are teams that will bracket him and take him away. Brokey said, did you hear about Ocho Cinco backing up Rager on Twitter? He said he will go off in year 3. Hey, man, everyone's entitled to their opinion, Brokey. I was a big Rager guy. I liked Rager's college film a lot. I knew that he had issues with route running. I knew he was exceptional at the top of the route stem. It's really where Rager's good. He's not good releasing off the line of scrimmage. You can't beat man coverage. I'm not going to say that Rager can't do what Ocho Cinco is saying. I'm saying there's no way I'm going to go out on a limb and predict that. If I was the Eagles, I'm not saying you cut him. I'm saying that guy needs to work his way back on the field for me. I'm going to go get receivers that I can trust are going to get open and I can trust are going to make plays. And, if a guy like Rager wants to have a big season, he's going to have to earn his way back onto the field for me. I mean, that's how I would approach it personally, but that's definitely a big hot take, my guy. No doubt about it, man. The Gambling Hippie said, would Rager and a second be worth Ridley? And do you think Atlanta would take that? No, I doubt it. I doubt it, to be honest. I mean, maybe you could entice them, but I doubt it. Marky Mack said Hurts' father was a football coach. Hurts played 4 years of high-level college football and now 2 years of NFL. He's clearly worked with a quarterback coach before. Why do you think he will improve now? You can make the same argument with like 90% of people, Marky Mack. That statement doesn't make any sense. So you're saying just because a guy's father was a football coach and just because he played in D1 football, that there's no growth, there's no ceiling that can be achieved in the NFL? Let me break something down for you, Marky. As good as the SEC is, those dudes would get smoked in the NFL. It's a different speed, man. It's a different way of the game, man. A lot of opportunities and recoveries and free agencies. Who would you gamble on? For receivers in free agency, Ryan said. Who would I gamble on? I mean, I like Mike Williams because I think Mike Williams fits a need we have. I love the guys like Allen Robinson. I love Calvin Ridley. Look, Devontae Adams would be a dream because there's no one better at doing what he does. The problem is those guys are going to be immensely expensive. Mike Williams, I think, would be like a nice mid-range priced guy that I think you could get to come to Philadelphia. He's got familiarity with the coaching staff. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that could be it, man. Future, no one's saying there are no good quarterbacks in the draft. This is what I'm saying. You guys do. You guys do this a lot with people like the quarterback school and Kurt Warner. You guys do this a lot to where you only hear what you want to hear in an evaluation, and then you nitpick something and you pull it out to fit what you're trying to say instead of considering the whole point of what they're saying. Nobody's saying there's no good quarterbacks in this particular draft class. There's no day one starter from what I've seen so far in this draft class. I think Matt Corral has the ability in the right system and scheme with enough time to develop and a patient enough fan base to be quite good. I'm not putting that guy out on the field on day one. I think Kenny Pickett has a nice trajectory, and he looks like a lot like guys like Joe Burrow and other guys that kind of had those late coming ons to their career. He's got some issues from a measurable standpoint when it comes to the way they scout these guys. He doesn't have the biggest hands, but there are guys in the league that don't have the largest hands that play pretty well. Tom Brady. With that said, no one's saying there's not good quarterbacks. I'm saying that this draft is not a layup at quarterback. So you forgot Godwin was injured? Nick's play calling isn't as bad. To be honest, Dilfer had more throwing talent than Jalen when he played with the Ravens. I mean, if you're saying he can operate the offense better, then sure. Sure, I agree with that take, but that doesn't make him a better player, man. Everyone hates having a guy that plays off schedule until you need a guy that can play off schedule. If you're an X receiver, you're never getting the ball. You know this how. Future, stop with these takes, man. Stop with these takes, or I'll bring you on here live. Stop. Wish they would have put Huntley in on special teams. Hurts can't throw. He can't read the field. Philly Crew 23, let me ask you a question. What's your experience playing quarterback? What's your experience coaching the quarterback position? Because that's a take that should not be coming across the screen. It's going to be honest with you. It indicates someone to me that is making an assumption that they probably don't know what they're talking about. I think that he's got to progress and become better at reading the field. I agree, but I also see a drastic progression throughout the course of the season of where he started and where he ended. I think some of you guys are making a ton of assumptions in terms of what is allowed of the quarterback to do at the line of scrimmage, what is allowed to be done with route combinations. You're assuming he has the autonomy to make certain decisions, and that's not always true because some of you guys don't understand how the position's played. You're assuming whether or not a guy is getting a full field or a half field read. There's a lot of assumptions you guys are making, man. Huntley should have been returning kicks, was stoked when he got elevated to active roster, and then he was inactive. He showed off in week 18. Based upon what, Future? Be honest. What is your honest experience coaching and playing that position? Because a lot of you guys are making some strangely strange outtakes here, to be honest. There's no way you can tell this from a TV copy. If you're trying to make that determination from a TV copy of a game, you have no clue what you're talking about. Like I said, I don't know. I saw the corner out early in the game come open, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I know exactly what the autonomy is in terms of if it was a hat, if Jalen Hurts is allowed to come off of primary read and go to that read. You guys are making some big, big assumptions. I agree, Eagles has landed. With the exception of Smith, you can't use any of them. Taking Rager and JJ was a mistake. You can't not look to replace them, even in the draft. Rager and JJ can't play. Mad Hatter said, future generations, you sound like crypto. Kivo said, the coaching staff allowed the mystique of Brady, allow them to abandon their identity too soon. Being down 17-0 in the first half didn't call for them not to run more. They let the moment get to them. Vortex, I'll read your comment even though it's wrong. The reason Eagles lost is because the Buccaneers forced Hurts to throw the ball. They stacked the box, and New Hurts has a noodle arm and can't read defenses. We need a quarterback. You guys are making a lot of assumptions, my guy. We have 3 firsts. Let's draft a quarterback. Okay, Future, I'm not going to predict what the front office will or won't do. But wasting a first-round pick on a quarterback, if you don't truly believe that's the guy, if the film doesn't line up, if the scouting doesn't line up, is a huge mistake because you just locked yourself into a player again. Said Carr, I don't know, might pick him over Jalen with the price he cost. Possibly. Shine said, to be honest, I feel Siri and Hurts both didn't put their best foot forward since Bucks ran a cover 3 zone basically the whole game. Nick's supposed to just settle for 4 to 5 yards on quick outs. Force. It's hard to say, man. Like, you got to look at it from a schematic standpoint, Shine, and see what was on film from the Bucks. Like I said, what I saw was a lot of box being loaded. I did see that aspect of things. They brought an extra man down into the box, and they played a lot of cover 3 or cover 1 on them, so single high safety looks. They use their speed to try to get to the outsides to minimize it. And I do think that we should have gone for the interior of the line more than what we did, whether we used it from a gap, power kind of perspective or whatever we do here. But yes. Bergang said, I'm not using capital and quarterback this offseason, build team, and if Hurts sucks next year, then go get your quarterback. That's what I would do personally. Future, what are you even trying to say, man? This is the most ridiculous statement I've ever heard anyone say. Hurts can't see or read the field. Try to teach that to him, but don't rely on him to learn. What are you talking about? You're literally talking yourself in circles, man. It's the most absurd statement I've ever heard anyone make. Escape the night dude said, I hate to say it, but Josh Rosen is better than Hurts. No, he's not. Stop that, guys. That's a ridiculous statement to make. Vincent said, I hate Philly fans at times like this. Hurts didn't play any worse than Dak Prescott. And that was Hurts' first playoff start, but only one is being run out of town. And then Bergang said, Vincent, facts. Lamar, what's up, buddy? He said, is the Gannon head coaching talk real, or are they doing him a favor? What you think? I think it's a bit of both, Lamar. I do think that they're going to give him an opportunity, but I don't think he's anyone's leading candidate. I mean, if he goes in there and wins the room, you know what I mean? Like, it could potentially happen. But so far, the two teams have connections back to him in Minnesota and Denver. So, I mean, it does feel a little bit like kind of a wink, wink, you know what I mean? Kind of situation. Gambling Hippie said, Gate calls them as he sees them, breaks down the film, and then gives an opinion. That's why we are here, man. We appreciate it. It's no problem, man. I'm just trying to keep some of you guys from walking off the ledge here, man, because some of you guys, I get that you're upset about the way things happen, man, but some of your guys' takes, man, they're extreme. What's up, nasty left hook? What if we draft Carson Strong in the second round? He has a very strong arm, and we can have our cake and eat it too with 3 first-round picks. If you don't work out, no big deal. We lose a second. I like Carson Strong. I will say that his deep ball, he's got issues with his deep ball, to be honest. Nasty left hook. There was a couple times I watched this film, and his deep ball, it kind of tailed off on him a little bit. He's got it. I do agree that he has a pretty good arm, but something's going on with that deep ball, to be quite honest. Yeah. So explain that, future generations. Your team is never better than its record, or it wouldn't be its record. People need to realize that Hurts has a ceiling that I think Laurie and Howie may not be cool with. If they can get a top 5 future Hall of Fame quarterback, they're going to pull the trigger. It's possible. Look, I don't try to predict what in the world the front office is going to do. I'm just saying that people are assuming that Hurts is cooked off of a bad performance, and it was a bad performance. But I've seen Josh Allen's first 2 years too. And there was no way of knowing that guy was going to be what he became in the third year, other than a belief that the underlying talent level of this young man was there. He had a cannon for an arm, and the underlying talent level was there. So if you could get this young man to start figuring out how to work on his base and hit these deep shots against pressure, and you can start getting this young man to read things better, read the coverage better, it was going to eventually click for him. I think we're in a similar situation with Jalen Hurts. He doesn't have the arm. He's nowhere near that kind of arm talent, but he's got the athletic mobility. There's some things there. What's up to Sean? I think you meant to say on offense, we need a better quarterback. I love Hurts, but wrong system and coach. Right, but could you say the same thing? Okay, so was Josh Allen the wrong quarterback and coach for Buffalo? Was that the wrong quarterback and coach combination? Sean McDermott, Josh Allen, Brian Dable? Christian, I agree with this, man. He said team sports are just that, a team. No one player wins us a game. It's total. I agree. Facts, we might see a wide receiver open, but we don't know the progression. What's up, 2020? How you doing, buddy? Jeremiah said, we lack talent at wide receiver, linebacker, and safety. Our quarterback is a playmaker and doesn't have a grasp of the pocket play. Our coaches are young and inexperienced. Yeah, I think it's a pretty good summation there, Jeremiah. Mike, you didn't, bro. Mike said, I took off of work, laugh out loud. It's all good, Mike. Edwin said, next year, if Hurts doesn't take another step forward, we are doomed. Hope he works with Jesse Palmer. We need to hit on this draft. I don't think we're doomed, man. I don't think we're doomed. We're still in a good position in 23. We got a lot of cap space. And as long as we don't do something to forsake our 2023 first-round pick, I mean, we're truly in that position. You can go trade. I mean, Howie will go make the trades if he wants to get up in the board and go get a guy. My take is largely not from yesterday's game. I only listened. What's up, James? I like Jameson Williams a lot, man. To get to your question, everybody, I think he's really, really good, man. What's up, the coach, Philly? He said, Gates, you're the man. Appreciate the content. Keep up the great work. But personally, I would draft a quarterback. He is not a elite next-level runner like Lamar, and he isn't an efficient passer yet. He's not an efficient passer yet, but to be fair, though, the coach, Philly, you look at a guy like Josh Allen. Josh Allen is really good from the pocket, right? But he's not an elite-level runner the same way that Lamar Jackson is, right? The same way that Colin Kaepernick was, that weird explosion and burst they had. But, you know, he had a cannon for an arm. With Jalen, I do think that Jalen is pretty good off schedule. He's really good at making something out of nothing. He's progressing at keeping his eyes down the field. He has gotten better despite what people are saying at reading coverage. I'm not saying it's all the way there yet, but to say that he hasn't gotten better from week one to where we ended yesterday, I got to highly disagree with people. Now, I don't know if he'll ever be, you know, a top 10, 12 quarterback. I mean, you're talking about the top 10 or 12 guys at a profession that is really hard to get. I mean, it's a difficult thing to assess. But I also don't think he's cooked based upon upon one playoff game, if you will. Anthony said Hurts was running for his life. The Josh Allen comparison only works if he turns into him. If you don't explore this year, you're starting over in 2023. Drafting a high ceiling guy to at least challenge Hurts legitimately makes sense. No, it doesn't, because if you take that guy, Todd. Oh my God. The point about the Josh Allen point is that they have the same exact flaws. None of us can predict whether or not it'll get ironed out. I don't know that. You don't know that. Nobody on TV speaking knows that. However, the flaws are very, very similar. They cannot be argued once the numbers are thrown right in front of you. They have the same exact problems. Josh Allen found a way of working it out. Josh Allen has a talent that has to do with his arm. Jalen's talent is more so that extending the play stuff. He's, you know, can he do all those things he's good at, learn how to play on schedule a little bit more, and then start getting those throw mechanics down on the deep ball. In terms of you saying there's no harm in drafting a guy, depends on the round you're talking about, Todd, because I got to disagree with you. If you draft a first-round guy, you've just now hitched yourself to the mentality of a first-round pick and the contract of a fifth-year option. There can be harm if you get the wrong guy. If you get the right guy, sure. You know, maybe you run with a guy like Matt Corral and you're going to sit him for a year or two, because I don't think Matt Corral is ready to step onto an NFL field, guys. That's not what I see from his film so far. He doesn't strike me as a guy that's ready to contribute early. Maybe you can try to play that of like, okay, we're gonna try to work this out with Jalen. We're gonna try to work this out with Gardner Minshew, but we got a backup plan. But the problem with that is, man, is that you're paying a really expensive backup, man. Paying a really expensive backup, and I do think to an extent, Todd, you're not going to get better as a quarterback if you're not on the field. There's some things you can learn. Being in the game, seeing things on film, all that stuff helps, but you still need actual game reps. I appreciate the response, Steve. It's no problem, Future. Like I said, Future, you're free to come on the channel and talk with me, man. You know that I won't stop people from coming on and talking. If you guys want me to do a call-in show sometime this week, we can do a call-in show. That's fine, guys. Just you got to let me know what you guys want. All right, guys. I'm going to get out of here because my wife's about to kill me. It's an hour and 15 minutes. But, all right, guys. We lost, man. It sucks, guys. We're going to have to get into evaluation mode. We're going to have to evaluate kind of what's going on. 2020, I'm sorry, man. I know you didn't get a comment in. I'm going to get Drew, too. These fans want us on the quarterback carousel. Hurts needs more than a season, maybe extra NFL quarterback coach alongside Brian Johnson. Either way, we have flexibility while he's cheap to change course if it's required. So you're talking about kind of like how Indianapolis brings in these coaching interns that have quarterback background to work with guys. It's possible they could do that, man. A sincere review said the 2-point attempt pass that Hurts made to Smith showed some off-script potential with Hurts. Some people need to calm down on Hurts. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to get to a couple of you guys before I jump off of here that didn't have an opportunity to get your comments read. People talking about how Jalen was running for his life, but couldn't we put a bit of blame on our defense for not getting to Brady more? Your arguments go both ways. I mean, they sacked him 4 times, though, to be fair, Hurts season, and they did have 4 straight 3-and-outs, I believe. So, I mean, they did try to get the ball back to the offense, and the offense and special teams let us down. So, I think, I think it's kind of tough, man. But I do think it was greater than just Jalen Hurts. What's good, Drew Smith? Appreciate you tuning in, buddy. Preston, I'll get to your comment real quick, buddy. He said, what's your thoughts on Nick Sirianni's play calling and the slow starts yesterday? Concerning that we're starting off slow, guys. It's concerning. Scheming plays, I love the way he schemes plays. I think he's particularly good at scheming a play. I do think his route combinations are better than people think. Game management worries me with Nick Sirianni. I do think there are times he loses sight and focus of the opponent, and the game management side of play calling gets away from him. He's an inexperienced play caller, and that I think that shows at times in that aspect. But I do think he's really good at designing route combinations. I do see his route combinations actually working and getting open a lot. But there's a lot of unanswers in that, guys. There's a lot of unanswers in that. Guys, I'm trying to sift through the comments. I don't want to slight anybody, not give you an opportunity to talk before I jump off of here, but we can't defend this, fellas. It is what it is. It's the teammates for me. Devontae Nkwez always got fussed for Jalen on field. They need him to play better. Sorry, guys. Let me sift through. I'm going to do a couple more, and then I got to jump off, man. I've been on here for a while, guys. Hurts, swag call said, Hurts is an athlete. You can only go far with those guys playing quarterback. Our front office likes to pass too much. Hurts season all day. I'm still rocking with Young Bull. What's up, the Biggie 86? How you doing, buddy? Fireman 2531 said, accuracy and awareness, guys. Thank you, Hurts season. This I really, really agree with, guys. People want a strong arm when arm power isn't the issue. 100% agree with that take, Hurts season. It is not the issue. My guy, Romy One More, channel member said, what's up, Gates? I agree. Let the young man develop. We just can't keep grabbing at quarterbacks. I agree, guys. All right, y'all. Thank y'all so much. I appreciate you guys. If somehow you were a new commenter and I did not get to your comment, my guy here, Des Cookie, says, I don't see what's wrong with building the team around Hurts on offense and defense. If he's not it, in a season or two, spend a couple of picks for a real quarterback prospect and have a team ready to go. That's what I would like to do, too. If I get to your comments, guys, just hit me up tomorrow and let me know, Gate, you left me out of comments yesterday, and I'll get you up on the comments. All right, guys? I hope we get Max Crosby, dude's a beast. And then Mullins, my guy, Mullins 80 came in late, said we need a quarterback, not a running back. Mast is a quarterback. Disagree with that to an extent, Mullins 80. I think people are taking things to a drastic nature. Great show, Coach. Appreciate you, Mad Hatter. Guys, thank you all so much. An hour and 55 minutes, guys. You guys are great. If you guys can do me a favor, make sure you hit the like button on your way out, guys. All right, y'all. Next video, guys. Tomorrow morning, 9:05 a.m., guys. See you.